welcome back to Black Card Rehab. I am so glad you guys have been listening. This is great. We're all sick and shut in, but we're still doing this podcast for you. We're
still in it.
We're still in it. Okay.
We're risking contaminating each other, and it'll be fine.
So every episode we go from 0 to black, one episode at a time. And Paige, on a scale of 0 to black, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling Danae Guerra in The Walking Dead right now.
Oh my God.
I divided and conquered that grocery store last night. I have given myself an A+ for this apocalypse so far.
Which grocery store did you go to?
I did 3 different grocery stores in less than 2 hours.
Damn.
I'm a queen.
Wow.
Yeah. I went to specifically non-white grocery stores.
Okay.
That was the key.
Oh, like what?
People be wilding out in Ralph's, but at El Super, everything was fine.
I was going to ask if it was El Super.
Yeah, they had everything. People just need to not be weird and racist.
Oh my God.
And on a scale of 1 to African American, how are you feeling today?
Actually, I'm going to change my response. I'm going to say, what was Will's character in the I Am Legend?
Yeah. Will Smith's character in I Am Legend?
Was he? Yeah.
I don't remember his name.
Okay.
But
I'm Will Smith
Will
in I Am Legend. I didn't see I Am Legend, but it's like, whatever, the end of the world, right?
Yeah. It's like disease vampires, basically. Yeah.
And he's fine in that. I feel fine. I'm going to survive.
Yeah. Plus, like, Independence Day.
Absolutely.
Will Smith always survives.
Unfortunately, I'm surrounded by, this part isn't unfortunate, but I am around a lot more Black people, and there is a certain level, there's a certain type of Black people that are continuing to propagate the belief that Black people cannot get the coronavirus.
I'm sorry, what? What? If that's true, though. Big if true. Big if true.
It's real ignorant. It's like, and it's like on one hand, and like there's some part of me that doesn't fully blame them, because it's like there's no news coverage of what be happening in Africa.
I have not seen a single person infected with coronavirus that has been Black. Middle Eastern, yes, but Black, no.
It's I'm just gonna put this out there. This probably won't come out in time, but it's not true. Black people can totally get coronavirus. We can also get skin cancer. I just need that to be on record.
That's true. That is true. Sunscreen, yeah.
Yes. And I'm actually gonna pause because I realized I didn't ask you for your credits.
Oh, no worries.
You want me to say?
My credits got suspended.
But they're gonna happen.
Cult Podcast is my main one. That's my girl. That's my main.
Yeah.
My main. Amazon Prime's Laugh After Dark, same as you. Mm-hmm. A different season. Not
Gateway
in an
show?
apartment. Oh, Gateway. Well, I don't know when he's going to start dropping those podcast episodes.
I just meant the live show.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'll plug that.
Which one? What's it called?
I help produce. I'm not the person behind it, but I help produce, which is a very important distinction for Billy's sake. To the Gateway show all over the West Coast. Seattle, Portland, LA, Colorado.
Okay. Okay, cool. And then, all right, so we'll go back in.
Sure.
All right. And today I'm really happy to have on this guest. He's super funny. He is eventually going to be seen on Amazon's Prime's Laugh After Dark. Look, guys, everything's up in the air. We know what it is. No, but that's gonna be super dope when that happens. He's also one of the co-hosts of Cult Podcast, a great podcast. Also, Paige, you guys got to listen to that podcast. You got to find out about Black cults. they be doing shit.
That's one of the few that actively would decapitate people kind of a lot.
Yeah.
Was a black cult. That was a real fun
burn
one.
rooms of people alive.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that bitch. He also helps produce the Gateway Show. You guys welcome Armando Torres.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
And on a scale of 0 to black, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling like the dog from I Am Legend.
Oh,
Who's
okay.
Like, yeah.
Wait,
He's
did
like,
the dog survive? This is a spoiler.
The dog was a straight G.
Okay.
Yeah, so Will Smith gets trapped by the vampires because they start learning how to use tools and shit, which is an important distinction between man and monster.
Nice.
And then he gets trapped and the dog's like, I gotta stand by my boy. I gotta be here. I know the vampires are coming, but I gotta chill because that's what real homies do. And then he dies.
Oh, he does
and then
die.
he super dies.
Oh,
yeah, and it was the most, I think, upset I've ever been in a film before in my entire life.
Really?
Yeah, that one, that's like what hit me.
Interesting, because I'm like 2/3 of the way through Don't Fuck with Cats.
Ooh.
Oh, do you not know the story behind it?
Not before I started watching it, no.
Oh, okay. I've
And I was
specifically not watched it because I knew what happened.
I literally was
good.
like, the person who recommended it to me so adamantly recommended it to me, and I cannot wait to go into work and tell this fool, don't recommend this shit to people like that ever again. Like, I'm sucked in now. It's too late for me, but you can save yourself. Like, you started
Yeah.
If you are sensitive to things like don't watch it. Like, just read the Wikipedia. Like,
that case was the first episode of Sword and Scale that I ever listened to. If you're familiar with Sword and Scale, it's a crime podcast where they play live 911 calls. Don't get into that. It's just going to wreck your mood.
okay.
Yeah.
But it was a 2-part episode, and they played some of the audio from the videos. And I've never been able to re-listen to it, and that case has really terrified me for a long time.
They play little tiny clips, but not, and they do play the audio in the show, and it is,
And they
man.
show people watching it.
Yeah,
Like,
which is
so
so much worse.
It is worse because
I'm
anyway.
like, why would you watch this?
Yeah.
Stop watching
So-
this. Don't watch this.
Anyway, in Have Your News.
So couple of corrections for both of you. First of all, Rudy Gobert of the Utah Jazz
Has
coronavirus. Yeah, you guys didn't hear about that?
There you go.
Yeah, well, you guys not hear. So he's French and he goes to France a lot, and so everyone was like, "Yo, man, maybe." Don't do that for a while." And he was like, what do you guys think I have coronavirus? You guys are stupid and ignorant. And as a bit, during a press interview when he was done, he got up and touched every microphone.
No.
And then 30 hours later, they found out he had coronavirus.
What a dummy.
I shouldn't think that's hilarious, but I kind of do.
Oh, yeah.
I also, conspiracy corner, I'm like 80% sure that Trump has it.
Yeah.
That's what a
he
lot
met,
of people are saying.
He met with the Brazilian that had it, and then I think one other person, and then also I know that motherfucker's never washed his hands before.
Yeah.
He looks grody.
He's been very sweaty on TV recently, and I'm just like, you got a fever, fool.
Yeah. Oh,
We can tell.
that's a good point.
If you
Oh
watch,
my God. Orange drips of sweat.
yeah, I'm just streaking his self tanner. The John Oliver 20-minute segment on it shows video from, I believe it was the Prime Minister of Iran. No, I think the head of their basically CDC, but he's announcing it on TV, mopping just like fever sweat.
Oh yeah.
And is just like clearly struggling to read the announcement.
Wow.
He looks like what I look like when I came home and my mom was like, "Have you been smoking weed?" And I'm like, "Weed."
Like
nope.
from the yard?
Yeah.
You're silly.
Coronavirus. Oof. Nope, not me. Not me.
Definitely
Not me,
I'm
Mom.
not shitting my pants right now.
Yeah.
So,
I
yes.
didn't go out and buy extra toilet paper. What are you talking about?
I didn't know either that there was the thing in the black community of like black people can't get coronavirus.
Yeah.
But I do know that the Latino and Hispanic community is also propagating that within for
I'm sure,
themselves.
yes.
Not of
Yeah,
black people.
yeah.
That'd be really weird if Mexicans were like, yeah, they can't get it and we need to harness this power. No, but like I've seen like this girl I went to high school with on her Instagram posted a story that was like, do you know anyone that's been infected? No, because it's the government trying to impose their force and show us that they can shut our lives down.
Journalism.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't think so.
I do think that's why the grocery stores were not as densely populated. Yeah.
But I should say this is a historical moment because you are our first non-Black guest.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi. Hello. It's the first time a Mexican has been gentrifying something.
And I'm here for it.
Yeah.
And what are you here to talk to us today about?
One of my favorite parts of Black culture has always been hip hop music and rap, which is like, I don't know. I don't think anyone could make an argument that it didn't come from Black culture, especially because we can like prove where hip hop originated from.
I mean, Iggy Azalea is gonna try.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I do love that. There's that new show on FX about Little Dicky. And he's like, wow, they really lump in all white rappers together. And somebody makes a joke like, well, I mean, they're very similar in what they talk about. But yeah, I'm a big fan of hip hop. Are y'all? I know Paige loves hip hop.
I love hip hop.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know a ton about like the history. I've watched so many different like documentaries. None of it is stuck in my brain, in part because sometimes I realize a lot of what I knew before then was already twice removed, like once or twice removed. Like, oh, I didn't know that's where that beat came from. Like, I've been listening to that beat in this song, you know, but it's like that person sampled it from that person who sampled it from somebody else, you know? So, like, I don't have, like, a lot of connections to, like, I guess what some people would call the roots of hip hop.
I see that stuff to me is like, I've always loved that, and in cult podcasts, I do this thing where I'll find something out and then be like, oh, but why? And then dive deep into that. And in music, a lot of times I'll find like, oh, the same thing, like, oh, the sample is from this song, and then it was made by this person, but then why are they saying, like, Kendrick Lamar is huge if you like samples with meaning behind them. Oh my God, he'll sample stuff for seemingly no reason, and it sounds out of place until you do your research on like why or where it comes from. It's insane.
What's an example?
He has in one of his songs in King Kunta has that line about what's the yams, and he's talking about yams in this kind of weird abstract way, which is from a book about a black man who leaves the South and tries his whole life to not be considered black and just be a person, and then he smells yams in a northern city, like the way they used to cook them down south, and he just like loses himself and is just like, oh, these yams are so good. And in the book, it's a literary way to show that like no matter where you go, he can't escape who he is, or quote unquote his blackness. So Kendrick Lamar is bringing that in a lyric to just be like, because in the song he's talking about like wilding out, like buying a chain, getting nice clothes, like going back to Compton and being like, I'm the king. And so he's saying like, even though I'm successful in hip hop, the yams are still the woes of success, and showing everybody like, I have to show you I'm successful, otherwise you would never believe I was successful. If I was like because like white people who own the biggest businesses, like for example,
they dress really understated.
Zuckerberg dresses like shit. And so like if somebody who was black was super rich and dressed like that, you would just think they were a bum. So he has to be like, I have to dress like this so that you know I'm successful. But then that in turn just like perpetuates the same the cycle of like, I need this, so I'll waste my money on this instead of buying money or spending money on property, and et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, that's one little thing. I love hip hop so much. I'm like, but I turn it into like a nerd thing. Like it's not even fun when I tell people about hip hop.
Hey, Crystal, what's your favorite Kendrick Lamar song?
Oh, damn.
Damn.
Well, it's like See, that's the thing. What did I say before?
The one with Beyonce.
Oh yeah, that is my favorite. Yeah,
There's a Beyonce song.
It's called Freedom.
Oh, okay.
So he's on there. Yeah, it's Beyonce's song with Kendrick Lamar,
Interesting.
but it's so good.
It's very good.
I have really with Kendrick. I listen to mostly like his albums because I like listening to things like in a full like because Kendrick makes things to be listened to in one.
He makes
go.
concept albums.
Yeah,
Right.
And so I like that a lot. A lot of people don't, and Paige and I have actually talked about how a lot of times you can take things from concept albums out and use them in a different context. And I was like, why would people do that? You're supposed to listen to it in order. And Paige was like, because no one does that. Because songs just sound good, and then you listen to them.
Oh, you're
and I was
upset
like,
about
oh, that's
it.
right. I forget.
People are dumb sometimes.
Well, yeah, I think it's that I subject myself to music like homework, where I'm like, I have to listen to this in order, and that's it. That like,
But you like that kind of homework.
I like it. I think it's interesting. Yeah. So I just asked if you liked hip hop because I have no idea. I have no idea of knowing what if some people.
It's
love
fascinating
it and
though
don't.
because I mean, do you like? Was there a point in your life in which you assumed that most Black people loved hip hop?
Yeah, pretty much all of it.
Yeah.
I thought like from the very beginning, I thought. I mean, I grew up in LA, so like everyone that I knew listened to hip hop. But then I realized that it was like a predominantly like Black sound, and so then I was like, well, Black people like hip hop, just like Mexican people like hip hop, but then they also like fucking mariachi music is what most people would call like banda music or shit like that. And just like I assume like my white family was like, oh, they just like alternative rock and Radiohead and shit like that, you know. So I for a really long time I just assumed that everyone had their thing, like that's what you had.
Here's my question: did you think Oprah liked hip hop?
That's where it gets different. Because once I was able to discern between like class divides, at that point I think that like notion of like this music is this people's music was like gone for me. So by the time I realized like Oprah was one of the richest people in the entire world and I have no idea. Like, did you guys see the new Lil Yachty song with Drake and DaBaby called Oprah's bank account?
No.
It's just a song of like these three men who are some of the richest people in hip hop right now wanting to be as rich as Oprah's bank account.
Yeah.
And so like that's, you know, I guess I just that's a good question.
The reason I ask is because, you know, so for me, like, and part of why this show got started, and I've kind of said it before, is like at some point in high school, like one of my white classmates asked me if I like had heard this hip hop song. Not asking, like the way he asked me was with the assumption that I would. And I realized at that point that's the only reason that he assumed that I would have heard it. It was because I was Black, because I went to a predominantly white school.
I mean, that's kind of like where I asked you the question of like, do you like hip hop? But in my voice, I was like, of course you like hip hop.
Yeah. So, I mean, I do, but like I came at it from a very different perspective. One being, I didn't have any older brothers or sisters to expose me to it. So there's this huge leap in terms of like how I got access to it. I mean, I had to just kind of one day decide, I guess I'm gonna start like finding out about some. So it really wasn't even until college when I had like probably my own money where I like started buying albums. Like I bought all of Kanye's albums. Those are the albums. I mean, we just drove to Vegas and I listened to College Dropout and not Graduation Day,
Late registration, like back to back. And my boyfriend was like, you know all of these songs,
because those albums
and
are fire.
not just the songs but the skits in between.
We need to bring back skits.
I love them.
do. I love that. So when you talk about concept album, I would say, and I really relate to that in terms of that album. Like there's some parts of the drama in that album that I will not skip because it's so good, and like as good to me as the song.
So that's like I have an older and a younger stepbrother, so like they're not related to me, and I didn't grow up with them as my family. My mom and my grandmother though are or were music writers. So they wrote a blog for alternative and up and coming new music. And they didn't. My grandma, weirdly enough, so my grandma grew up in Mississippi and Louisiana for a long time and listened to like a bunch of music, and is white. My grandma's very white. But she loved like everything. Like growing up, she told me that she loved jazz. Her little brother was like huge into the punk scene. And so like she just never learned. She was just like, I love the elements of songs. Like she doesn't love music. She doesn't love hip hop or anything blah blah blah. She tells me, she's like, I love trumpets. Like, I love the sound of trumpets. So whatever it is, if there's trumpets in it, she's going to like it.
Okay.
So, like, there's stuff like that she can pick out. But my mom showed me...
There's a lot of that in, what is it, Late Registration?
Yeah.
The one he does with, what's his face? You got to testify, come up in the spot looking extra fly. Because he samples it from, what's it? Move on up.
Curtis Mayfield.
Yes, that song. That's very, very trumpet, horns heavy.
That's Diamonds of Sierra Leone.
That same album,
God, I love, my mom bought Graduation, the album, the one with the weird like bear. Well, they all have bears on it, but like the weird painting one. She bought that album, and on a trip home from my dad's house back to our, because we split custody, so we have these long car rides, and so she would just show me new music, and she showed me Graduation when it came out, and I was like, this is the...
Wait, your mom or your
my mom did.
Your mom did.
My
That's
mom
insane.
showed me Kanye. Wow. Kanye's was always been one of her favorites, and we've listened to, after Graduation, every time a Kanye album came out, we listened to it together front to back.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Your mom, that's awesome.
She's huge. I mean, she's really supported. Like, one thing that I will say is I had a friend of mine who their mom only let them have censored hip hop, like the clean versions of songs.
The Walmart copy.
Yeah, exactly. And like the first album I ever bought with my own money after I graduated middle school was Lil Wayne's The Carter 3.
Oh, wow.
And we went to go buy it, and they had the clean version, and I was going to buy that. And my mom was like, that's not what he intended. And so like my mom made me get the full version, which included the song Pussy Monster, because she was like, this was the artist vision. So like I've always loved hip hop and appreciated it. And it also never had like, I think a lot of people listen to it because it's got this flavor of like your parents wouldn't like it, but like my mom loves hip hop, you know?
So when you're like trying to, what is your favorite thing to educate people about? And when it comes to hip hop, like if you get a captive ear.
My favorite thing about hip hop has always been how, more than any other genre of music, or at least contemporarily any genre of music, it is so much meta. Like every part of it is like a song will have like in a song about how much money he has and how he can go fucking shop for anything. It's a song by French Montana featuring Drake. Drake has a verse where he's like, oh, I'm super rich, and also, by the way, this is a sneak diss towards Meek Mill because I'm mad at him. You know, like you can take any song and put a little bit of your own drama, like a little bit, like the skits you were saying of like hip hop of Kanye. Like there's a little bit of drama and like there is a story to it. Like will he make it? Will he not? In hip hop, I've always loved how like people are just so angry or proud or any other emotion or have other shit going on, and they'll just put it into a song. And it's like these secret messages that you have to like decode, especially with like beef and diss shit. I love it so much. I love that stuff so much. I love how it like the passion that comes out, like when Kendrick did the Control verse where he called every rapper out by name, and like everyone he mentioned was super like, oh, I guess I gotta be better, and everyone he didn't name was like, what the fuck, man? So like he reignited competition in hip hop, which, and like the competition in hip hop is how like, you know, the East Coast West Coast beef, like Biggie and Tupac, and then when like Outkast won at the awards that I can't remember off the top of my head.
The Grammys, the VMAs.
No, I can't remember what it was.
The BET Awards?
Don't think so. I forget which award they won.
NASCAR Grand Prix?
Yes. When Outkast won the NASCAR Grand Prix. But when they just got on stage and were like, hey, you guys in the West and the East forgetting about the fucking South and we're taking all your awards, motherfuckers.
Oh my God, I just found out that Big Boy is really into owls.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Oh my God, like he has several owls.
Wait,
Yeah.
And he
what?
will like walk around the studio with an owl like perched on it.
And we thought
just
Andre was
rapping.
the weird one.
Andre 3000 has been a force field for Big Boy's weirdness.
He also at one point owned a shark, and now he breeds French bulldogs.
Yeah.
Well, breeding
What a
French
leap.
bulldogs is the least weird.
But the leap, I mean, a shark's to...
A shark
That's the
to-
wrong way, dude. Like,
How do you keep a shark? You, like, just put it in
he
your
had like
swimming
a
pool?
huge tank.
Yeah.
He would get hand-sized goldfish and then dump them in there. But yeah, now this fool's got owls.
And these are
I'm picturing him carrying him like a falconer, like with
yeah.
He just
That's
sits on a veranda
wild.
writing raps with his owl. Just
Why owls? Oh my God! What?
Big Boy lives all of the brags that Lil Wayne talks about. Like
Yes.
everything that you said sounds like something you would make up to explain how wealthy a rapper has become.
Oh my God!
and like because I was just listening to this on another show, and they were like, "How did you get an owl?" He's like, "One day I just had this friend that was like, oh man, you like owls? I can get you some owls." Like literally, that's it. It was just like somebody he was talking to had a connection, and then next thing you know, he had it. It's just like that's what.
Yeah, man.
It's wild because owls are not domesticated, and supposedly in captivity they will never stop trying to attack you. So when Big Boy dies of an owl attack,
That
we'll
headline.
know why.
Oh
And
my
his
God.
pet owl just spits his bones back up onto the carpet. We'll be able to autopsy it. That was wild.
I cannot wait.
I mean, I'll be bummed because I actually really like Big Boy.
It'll be Bones Over Baghdad.
Oh.
Oh,
Perfect.
man. I'm just picturing Andre walking into the house, finding it, and being like, "I told you to stop messing with these owls." Like, oh man.
Yeah,
Wow.
I
So wait, what did he say at this awards thing?
oh, pretty much just that. He was
Just
like,
listen.
I'm
I've
gonna
got owls,
I got
listen
owls. Yeah, you pieces of shit. It was just like everyone was so the East Coast West Coast rap beef, like everyone was so into it, and like that was the heyday of like what we remember of the Biggie and Tupac shit. And then these dudes from the South won these awards, and were just like, fuck you, fuck West Coast, fuck East Coast, it's all about the South, you guys suck. And
Yeah.
so like there's this competitiveness in hip hop that shines through in the music where like people diss each other or like playfully like throw things at each other, or talk about things that are going on in their life, like god damn it, in is it just called Miss Jackson? Why can't I remember the name of the song?
I'm sorry, Miss Jackson.
Jackson,
Ooh, I am for real.
Yeah.
Never meant to
what is
make
that?
out
Is
to
that song
fight.
called just Miss Jackson?
Miss Jackson.
Okay,
yeah.
good. Thank you. Like that song was written to Eric. Is it Erykah Badu's mom?
Yes,
Yeah.
I believe so. Yeah.
To wait.
Tell her that her baby is a baby and not a paycheck.
Yeah.
yeah. Oh,
Because-
hardcore. That song is like listening to it now because it came out when I was in like junior high, and you're just like, this has a good beat, and then you listen to it as an adult, and you're like, this is a very stressful custody
Oh
battle.
yeah.
Yeah.
There, yeah, it's that was one of the cool things that I liked is how God damn it, I looked up if Miss Jackson is Erykah Badu's mom just to make sure, and what I did find was somebody is trying to figure out exactly how many times they apologized to Miss Jackson.
Yeah.
And
Within the song
yeah.
or just in history for the amount of times that song has been played?
we will never understand. But there's a song, I love Outkast's take on stuff too, because like each artist can talk about things so differently and so creatively. It's why like there's a million songs about every topic in hip hop from different perspectives.
Yeah.
And the best is International Players Ball is a song all about pimping, and they each talk about it in a different, so there's UGK and then Outkast, so there's Bun B, Pimp C, Andre 3000, and Big Boy. And they each 4 of them talk about pimping from a different aspect. And it starts with Andre 3000 talking about pimping in terms of like, you're out here pimping, not like a compliment. Like he's about to get married, and so he has to tell every other girl he's ever been with, like, hey, I want you to be happy, but I found somebody, so I'm not going to be fucking around with you anymore because I'd rather love my girlfriend, and this is like the one for me. And then that one ends, and it starts with Pimp C, and he's just talking about like the woes of being a pimp, where he's like, man, you gotta fucking pay for my car, and like all the, and then there's Bun B, who's like doing a romance verse where he's like, come be my girl, but he's not saying like be my girlfriend, he's like be my hoe, like
be my victim, like Candyman.
Yeah, he literally at one point he's just like he was like, come pimp for me, watch your daddy get rich. And it's like, that's not an attractive sentence for anyone to hear. And then Big Boy, who once again just loves talking about child support, talks about how having a child and then paying child support is like the government pimping you out to pay for your child, which there are within this 4-minute song an uncountable amount of problematic views just throughout the entirety of the song. But each one of these dudes just took one topic and like tried to make it, and it's each one is so very different from the last, where it's just like, wow, that's interesting to see where your brain went.
Would you say that pimping is the airplane food to the rap community?
I think it depends on where you're from. In the South, definitely. From this in Southern hip hop, they love talking about pimping.
As Ludacris once said, he's got hoes in different area codes.
Yeah. In most other hip hop, especially on like the East Coast, it's like selling crack is pretty much like, it just depends on what area you are, that like which crime is most prevalent, and then that's kind of like the token, like everyone does this, so we're gonna rap about it. Like it becomes a staple of like Southern hip hop is all the stuff about pimping, where like Jay-Z made that song Big Pimpin', he was like, all right, I gotta get UGK, they gotta come out, they gotta come do it. If I'm gonna talk about pimping, it's gotta be from the South.
Oh my god, that's so silly. I just realizing that was my ringtone in college.
Big Pimpin'?
Yes!
Big Pimpin', spending cheese.
I just loved it so much, and like the little flute in it, it was so funny to me.
I guarantee when you go back and you listen to it and you just hear Pimp C being like, I'm going to turn your daughter into a product. And you're like, oh.
Yes. I listened to that song recently and was like, ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's it's hard to listen to sometimes, but yeah, it's the lyrics are everything. I mean, obviously, because you can rap without a beat, or with a beat, or with like heavy, giant, awesome production, or very simple, no production. But like everything that goes into the lyrics can be very simple and cool and minimal, but also technically well done. Like MF Doom or Nas are two of the best at just like, Nas will just rap about things he sees out of his window. Like he's doing like still life raps about stuff that's just going on. And it's so interesting to see, because they'll give you like a day in the life of like, I saw this crack dealer and he did this, and this, and then that's the song. That's it. And then like MF Doom made a whole album about food and like different, like it's literally called Food. And he is one of the, like, technically, the way that he raps with how he does multiple syllable raps is insane. It is almost unparalleled between, like, people, until people like Earl Sweatshirt a little bit and other people like that. But the way that he's very slow and crafted, but also MF Doom is a character, so it's like a dude playing a supervillain. And he also does like a bunch of other bits too. He does,
because he had the mask for MF Doom, and then he's been changing the mask, and then sometimes there's no mask. Sometimes he'll send somebody else in a mask to pretend to be MF Doom.
He would do that at shows.
Fake out.
He did this thing called Doombots, where MF Doom would make a venue pay him more money and that would technically break their contract, so he didn't legally have to perform. So he would send somebody that was a lookalike, because he wears a mask, go and perform his songs, voice or what it was, mouth lipping, lip syncing. Thank you. Mouth lipping. They would lip sync his songs, and if the fans figured it out, they would boo him off stage, and then the real MF Doom would come out, and if they didn't, then it was just fine. So like he's
just for his own fun.
Because his whole thing is he's a supervillain, so he doesn't care. He did it all for the bit. He's truly one of the only rappers that's really committed to being exactly who he says he is, and who he is a very supervillain.
So his beef is just like with the
Some
world.
people just want to watch the world burn.
It's kind of a take. So MF Doom's thing is like, every rapper talks about like selling crack or being a gangster, and they think that the more fucked up the thing they did makes them the cooler rapper. So he was like, well, then I'll take that a step further. I'm a supervillain. I want to kill the whole world.
Yeah.
And so he'll rap about like making a doomsday device, and like he's gonna blow up everyone, so it doesn't matter what gang you're in, you'll all die. And that makes him ipso facto the coolest rapper. That's like his whole joke.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, the things that he does with like character work, and like his character has an alter ego, and then she has his character has a girlfriend, but the girlfriend is cheating on him with one of his alter egos, and he puts that like in a song.
So he's kind of like so like Janelle Monáe does this,
Yes.
where she has an alter ego and like a whole storyline that'll be referenced or sub-referenced in her songs.
Prince does this as well. Nicki Minaj did this for a time, where she had 5 alter egos.
Oh yeah.
Prince's alter ego is a female alter ego named Camille, but then there's also a black evil alter ego named Spooky Electric.
Yeah, Nas did that for a little bit. He pitched his voice up and pretended to be he called his new artist the best female rapper of all time, but it was just him with a pitched up voice. And then everyone immediately figured it out.
Yeah.
And was like, what are you fucking doing, man? But anyway, yeah,
oh my God, it was like the Masked Singer before the Masked Singer.
Yeah, but it was just Nas tuning his voice up. But you can, so like, I don't know, you can both off of like technicalities, like people who can just rap and just listen to them rap and just go is super great. And then people who can tell you like a whole story or a whole message, like Kendrick Lamar is probably, if not the best, one of the best at like compacting an entire metaphors inside of a story, inside of an album. And like the Dissected series on Spotify is great at like picking apart, okay, this is where the sample comes from, and this is why he uses it, and this is the importance to it. Like there's another song that they make, it also might be King Kunta, where they take the bass line and the flow from another rapper from Compton who died before he got famous. And so the whole song is an homage to him and the lifestyle that Kendrick is living, that and where it'll end up. So like there's all these little, you know, I like the details to answer your question. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
I just talk forever.
No, it's fine. Yeah. So what I've noticed from people we've had to talk about that like hip hop,
to be a good
people
episode.
People love Kendrick. People be loving Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah, he's not my favorite, but he is the person that you can point to and be like, he is the person you can point to and be like, that's why hip hop is art. Like that is why. I don't think Damn should have won the Pulitzer. I think honestly, Good Kid, Mad City or To Pimp a Butterfly, both of which are amazing albums. I think either of those, like if you pick them apart, they're just fucking insane of how much he packs into it.
Do you feel like you have like what's the nerdiest thing that you have like stored in your brain, or like what are some of the nerdiest things you have stored in your brain about hip hop?
About hip hop ever?
Yeah.
The nerdiest thing I know about hip hop probably that I know the beginnings. That's an interesting story. Okay, so here's my rendition of the story of the beginning of hip hop, and it's not going to be 100% accurate because I don't have this shit in front of me, and I haven't learned about this in some time. But essentially, there in New York, there was housing, like a low income housing place,
project.
But it's like a big ass house, and everyone lives in it in these like little apartment buildings. And at the bottom, they had a giant rec room that you could sign up and rent out. And so there was this kid who in 1973, he signed up and he would hold these parties, and he did the first one was called the Back to School Bash. And so in 1973 he went by DJ Kool Herc, and he would take these samples like the Amen Brothers drum break and these other songs that were super recognizable now, and he mixed them together to give slower soul songs a more funky upbeat vibe. And then that's how like the style of like breakbeat hip hop, so like the beats themselves, they got started, and then rapping or over the beats started by taking this thing from Jamaica, which was called DJing, which is not DJing with records. It's literally getting over a record and doing shout outs. So in Jamaica, they would do shout outs for like what's going on, what you need to know, information of the party you are currently at. It is literally an MC, a master of ceremonies. There was this kid that DJ Kool Herc knew that is kind of like pointed at as the father of rapping. And so he would take a mic and he would get up and just be like, yo, what's up? This one goes out to my man Ben with the big old dick, because he would see like his friend trying to like hit on some girl, and so he'd be like, oh, my friend, he's super rich and great. Or he would be like, hey, if you have the yellow Chevrolet, your car's being towed. Like he would play it sounds like jokes, but like literally that's what they would do. So DJ Kool Herc would like spin on the records and basically make breakbeat, and then he would just like say whatever came to him, and then eventually he would start rhyming, because rhyming obviously helps you flow better. And then that continues and builds, and hip hop builds on top of that. And hip hop is basically three elements at the beginning, which is the break beat, the music, rapping, the art of freestyling or just saying words that rhyme over the beat, and graffiti and b-boying basically. So like those 3 to 4 things kind of contribute to all of hip hop as a kind of culture, which is super dope. So I know that.
Yeah.
Which is very dope.
Did you know they have his tables and his speakers at the
Smithsonian? Oh, where?
Yeah, the new African American Cultural History
Oh,
Museum.
Really?
that's dope.
They have a whole display specifically of their setup.
They were trying to, for a while, turn the apartment where hip hop was born into a museum. But then everyone involved with that era of hip hop in New York was like, no, keep that low incoming housing, because, you know, we need more than museums, places to live that aren't expensive, which I thought was really cool. But yeah, DJ Kool Herc kind of started hip hop and then never really, I mean, he gets credit for it, but he's not rich, you know, which kind of sucks.
Yeah.
And the guy who invented rapping was like, yeah, I feel like I could have been the biggest rapper if I hadn't done all that crack, because he got super addicted to crack for a long time. Super clean now, I think, as of like 2015. So I'm hoping he's still good.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the people who invented hip hop, they're not doing great.
Yeah.
They're really not. Like there was just a fundraiser for Kool Herc's like medical bills, because he's like dying and he can't afford anything.
Wow.
So I think that's kind of one of the weird things about hip hop, is it's all about community sharing, sampling, reusing, and repurposing, but that kind of leaves everyone broke with nothing of their own at the end of it, which is kind of interesting and weird and bleak. Yeah.
So how did you come to how did you even get interested in knowing all of this stuff? Like this is beyond the music. Like your knowledge goes to your knowledge goes past the music. Like how did you become interested in that?
I think like I said, like all of the lyrics are telling this story, or telling the story of like what they're going through. And I've always been interested in like understanding more about like what they're saying or what's going on. Like certain things where like when I play songs for Andrea, for my girlfriend, I have to explain what some things are.
Yeah.
Or like how a 4.5 is a 45, which is a handgun, which is, so like don't yell that in this Vons right now. Like it's a cool rap lyric, but you're talking about a gun, and I look scared.
That's one of my favorite J. Cole lyrics is carry 4.5s like change for a 20. I love
so good.
every time I hear that song, I'm just like, yes.
But yeah, there's little stuff where like I didn't get it, not being black, and so like I would have to look into what that meant. But then there's other things where like I didn't understand the context of a line, so I would look it up, and then I found out that it was in reference to something that somebody else said.
Yeah.
And so once you start to see that pattern kind of build itself in hip hop, you kind of want to like break it down and like see all of it, like a roadmap of like where it all came from or what happened or who's talking about what.
I think it's kind of cool how that's bleeding into non-specifically hip-hop music. Like Beyonce's Formation sampled in the beginning of the song first a web video from a local New Orleans celebrity that had been killed by the police unarmed, and it was kind of like this horrible thing. It never went to trial, but then it also samples Big Frida. Things that, like, if you didn't know who Big Frida was and didn't recognize that voice, you wouldn't know, and you should, because Big Frida's awesome.
Yeah.
It's a big couple years for Big Frida right now. She's getting a lot of play.
So would you say rap is a tapestry?
Yeah.
A rapistry?
A rapistry!
I definitely would, actually. As cheesy as that is, I do like that a lot. I mean, it really is. It all builds off of itself and continues to grow. And to Paige's point, one of my favorite things in hip hop is that there's like the lines are so blurred now as to what has to be what or what genre anything has to belong to. Like Frank Ocean's albums are starting to have this more like alternative rock influence that surpasses hip hop. But there's still hip hop.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of like weird R&B, soul mixed with this like really reduced alternative style. And then like people like Rich Brian, whose new album is definitely hip hop, has elements of like I don't even know, like weird just orchestral stuff. Like there's a hip hop song that stops midway and he brought in a full ass orchestra to just play like this version of the beat, and then they go back into he's just like and also pussy.
Well, it's like Doja Cat basically put out a disco hip hop album. It slaps so hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I think what's interesting is that it sounds like what they're taking rap into new places. What I thought was funny was like in the 90s where like people were trying to infuse rap into things because to add cool factor. So like, and it was not good. So there was a lot of R&B songs where there were like people were rapping. Like, I don't know if anybody knows this, but I happen to know probably the full rap to I Love Your Smile by Shanice. A lot of people don't realize that the extended version of that song has her rapping. And one of the raps, and I quote, is, "Yeah, and it's true. La-di-da, twinkly-dee to you."
Oh, my God.
No.
Early rap is so bad. It's so dumb.
But it was a thing that was happening in a lot of those songs. For like, sometimes what they would do is like they would literally just get to where normally like a bridge would be, and they would just rap what they just said. So like Bobby Brown would do this a lot. He was like, he just sang this and he's just gonna say it now, like literally what he just sang.
All you people talking.
Yes.
It's so great. I do remember when I was a kid, I watched one of those VH1 things on Walk This Way, the Run DMC Aerosmith.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's how I found out that song was not Run DMC original. Like I didn't know that was an Aerosmith song. But the whole, I mean, you know the story. I didn't know the story of the song. Is they were like, we want to do a collaboration. We're going to use it as a bass, so that way you don't have to sample. It could just be a song, and we think it would be a hit. And Run DMC was like, yeah, we'll just do the song. And they were like, make it for black audiences, and they're like, nah, it fits, we'll just do the song. We'll just rap the song. And so everyone was super confused because they're like, no, it needs like different lyrics, and they're like, no, it doesn't. We'll just do Walk This Way, and then that's it. And then they did it. So that's my favorite rock song of all time.
I want to ask, like, can you think of specific lines that you've broken down to anybody that like they didn't get, that you're like, I've done the research?
There was something recently, not in a lyric, but one of my favorite things to ever point out is the Pusha T Drake beef. So not Pusha T, sorry, Meek Mill Drake beef. they start beefing over allegations of ghostwriting on a song that Drake featured on. And Meek Mill is mad because that one song is outperforming the rest of his album. And so there's this kind of feeling from Drake of like, yeah, hey, you're welcome. And so Meek Mill didn't like that, called him out for having a ghostwriter. Everyone gets all upset. Drake drops Charged Up, which is a diss song, and it's a light diss song. And it's what you would think of if you heard a Drake diss song. Like, he's still simping, talking about like, yeah, and fuck you, you know, just like really weird. And then Meek Mill does nothing. And so then Drake drops Back to Back, which features a person wearing a Toronto Blue Jays outfit, hitting a home run, a game-winning home run in the World Series against the Phillies, which, because Meek Mill is from Philadelphia, and it's the second diss song. So there's just like everything in the song is made to be like, hey, and fuck you. You haven't done one, here's two. And then Drake also dropped Hotline Bling and Right Hand as a punctuation mark to be like, not only have I dropped two diss songs, but I'm gonna drop Hotline Bling and Right There to show, or Right Hand, to show you that I'm still working. Like, you're not even fucking up me making money.
There's also Hotline Bling. The video features multiple models that look like Nicki Minaj intentionally, who was engaged to Meek Mill at the time.
Yeah.
So it's basically just like, not only am I dropping this hit, and I probably fucked your bitch. Like,
yeah.
Hardcore.
So there's like all these little tiny things within that like thing, or like everyone's favorite song was Hotline Bling when it came out, but I feel like most people didn't realize that it was the exclamation point to Drake being like, and fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, he dropped it early as a way to just be like, and I don't even care. You're not even fucking up my day.
Oh man, well, this is great. I love now. Honestly, anytime I think about rappers, I'm gonna just picture them with you know, just like a blanket over their lap, crocheting, like, instead of rapping lyrics, just like, you know, just crocheting that rapistry, you know, just like
adding
putting
a new square to the
another
rap quilt
stitch in the
With an owl.
Yeah.
with an owl.
One's an owl, and next to it is J. Cole stitching in carry 4 5s like change for a 20.
It's one of the best lines. I
It's
love
so
that
good.
line.
That's so good. That's so genius.
In that same song.
I love how you guys like math. I love it.
I do. I
Oh,
like
it's
that.
so funny.
That same song also has him say, I hate to get the seats of the Benz wet, but that's how good your ass is.
Oh wow.
Love it. Good song.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on
Yeah.
Black Card Rehab.
Thank you for having me to just speak open-ended sentences. Big fan.
This is awesome. You guys, thank you for listening. Please go online and subscribe to the show. Give us a review. Thank you for those of you who have been giving us reviews. Really appreciate it. And we'll be black next time.